Oh, man, Brian. The Sens have now lost 5 straight in regulation, the longest current losing streak in the NHL right now. As for the Oil, after a nice little run by them, the Oilers are now on their 4th losing streak of 3 games or more. Both these teams came in with pretty high expectations, different kind of expectations, but high nonetheless. Which of these two teams is currently the bigger disappointment?
Edmonton, and it's not close. Edmonton, and it's not close, Gino, because they had cup aspirations. Yeah. They were talking about the Stanley Cup, the players. This wasn't white noise outside of the dressing room. McDavid, Draisaitl, through the lineup, they were talking about chasing a Stanley Cup. They've already had a coach fired. They have a $5 million starting goaltender playing in the minors, and they're 7 points out of the playoffs, and we're in late December. There's also a legacy play at stake here when it comes to Connor McDavid, in my opinion, Gino. He's rapidly moving up the all-time great list. He cannot get to the top unless he wins.
Got to win.
He has to win a Stanley Cup. He's been robbed of the opportunity to do that on an international level, but in terms of NHL Stanley Cup playoff hockey, he has got to be the man in his prime. It can't be a Ray Bourque situation a decade from now. He's got to be the man. This was an opportunity to do it. Edmonton, far and away the most disappointing team in the country.
But that's the fear that Oiler fans can have. If he can't win there, maybe at some point he decides he wants to move on. All right, so clearly both these rosters have some holes in them. They've got some significant need. Of the Sens and Oilers roster, which one is more flawed right now?
I think it's Ottawa because they lack maturity. With everything I just said about Edmonton, McDavid's a vet. He knows how to dig out of this. Draisaitl's a vet. You've got Ekholm. You've got Nurse. You've got Hyman, Nugent Hopkins. The Stars in Ottawa do not have that track record. Yeah. Their best players, their young players, do not have the proof behind them that they can drag themselves out of it. And there was one position where Ottawa could have surpassed Edmonton this year, Gino, and it was in net. And they've invested in Korpisalo. He has not paid off. Forsberg has not paid off. They may have a slightly better goaltending tandem than in Edmonton, but that's not saying anything at this point.
No. All right, the Sens and Oilers aren't the only teams going through it right now. The Avalanche have just 4 wins in the last 11 games, and that led Devon Toews to a public call-out.
If we have guys in here, I think we got some guys that think they're playing well, and I think they're kidding themselves at this point. It's frustrating to play with. Play out there when you got guys that think they're playing well and they're doing things that, you have no idea what play they're going to make or where they're going to be on the ice. And it's tough to play in this league when you don't know where your teammates are going to be. So, that's where a lot of the frustration stems from.
So Toews calls out his team. This is a strong Avalanche team that's underachieving. They're pretty ticked off right now. And now they get the struggling Sens. How ugly could this game get?
This is nightmare fuel for the Ottawa Senators. Absolute nightmare fuel. But with that said, Gino, Ottawa, it doesn't matter what anyone else in the league says, what they do. They have no excuses not to be pissed off themselves and in a position where they want to prove that they're capable of beating anybody. They just had a coach fired. They've lost 5 games in a row. We're talking about them as maybe one of the most disappointing teams in the league, and they need to start proving that they have the jam to step into, whether it's Colorado, whether it's Vegas, anywhere in the league or at home. They got to step up. They got to show up. It doesn't mean they're going to win tonight, but they better not just fold because Devon Toews had some rough things to say.
Yeah, another loss for the Sens would match our longest losing streak in more than 2 years.